Alrighty, a very, very, very happy Thursday, and welcome to the TNC Sports Talk. My name is Justin. Today is June 4th of 2026. I hope everyone is having themselves a nice, warm Thursday as temperatures begin to rise. Summer weekend is here. Whatever you guys have going for you guys, I hope you guys are enjoying them. I know I'm enjoying myself, and one of the things that I'm enjoying myself with, despite the Reds not playing great baseball, and we'll get into that today, has to be that the Major League Baseball All-Star voting has officially been open. That is correct. Vote for your favorite All Star player today by heading to the MLB.com app, create an account, sign in between now and June 25th. Vote for whoever you think is having an excelled year thus far and make your voice heard. By doing so, you could vote up to 5 times per day, every day between June 3rd, which began yesterday, all the way through June 25th. And I encourage you to do so, specifically if you want to watch a Cincinnati Reds player enter in this year's All Star game. It's not guaranteed anymore at a player from every team. It's really the best of the best. Phase one votes in now. Phase two is from June 29th through July 2nd, and those are for starters. And so you don't have to be anyone special. You just go in, you select them. They provide you a list of players with statistics and their stats, and you just select them. Now, I'm not trying to be biased, okay? I'm really not. But if how can you not vote for Cincinnati Reds players? If you want to see somebody from the Cincinnati Reds represent this organization in the All-Star game, then by all means, you're allowed up to one first baseman, one second baseman, one third baseman, one shortstop, one catcher, three outfielders, and a designated hitter. So just out of curiosity, okay, let's tickle the brain a little bit. Who do you see as a future All-Star for the Reds? Play devil's advocate. If you got a chance, who is your top Reds player that has made a case thus far to represent their team in the All-Star game? I have four people in mind that I'm just going to go out on a limb and mention. And three of those four people, because of the position players that are available, are on this list. The first one is Sal Stewart. Now, I don't know about you, but Sal Stewart made a very good start to the season before he's mellowed out. He's batting 258. He has 12 home runs, 37 RBIs, and he's hitting 818 on OPS. I think that's good numbers. And if he keeps it up, I want to see him as a first baseman on the All-Star. I think that would be phenomenal. The next player that I have comes out of the shortstop, and that's Ellie De La Cruz. I know he is injured right now, and that may and more likely will affect him in this year's All-Star. It's a bummer, but he's coming in 280, 12 home runs, 37 RBIs, and just that little staple of a player who has a huge impact on a team. If you just don't circle in on statistics and what the stat is today, he had to be an everyday lineup. He played 58 consecutive games this season before he was forced to not play because he was injured dealing with the hamstring. Now, I hope he makes a speedy recovery as he is recovering from the hamstring, but I would be a bias by saying I would vote Ellie De La Cruz 5 times a day. Then I jump out to the outfield. And I know our outfield hasn't really been all that great. Spencer Steer, 279, 9 home runs. I just wouldn't select him. But who I would select, let me see if I can still find him. TJ Friedel, definitely not. I have JJ Bleday. 289, 10 home runs, 27 RBI since getting called up in April. He's at a consistent path. And here lately in the ball games, we have been turning to JJ Bleday and having a good performance. Him alongside with Blake Dunn. So those are three position players I believe as a Reds fan you should be voting for 5 times a day at least every single day between now and June 26th. I have one pitcher. I'm going to talk about him briefly, but if anybody makes the All-Star this season for the Reds, one player comes into mind immediately, and that is the right-handed pitcher Chase Burns. I don't know about you, but to me, he's even in conversations of the National League Cy Young Award this year. And I think it's frustrating because the way that the organization is talking, the way that people around Cincinnati is talking, it indicates that he may be shut down in the upcoming months. But he's on the trajectory to be a nominee for the National League Cy Young Award. He had a great outing last night. We'll talk about it in today's Red segment. But if there's any Cincinnati Reds players that deserve to be in this year's All-Star game on this roster, it should be Chase Burns. So I'm interested in learning. Do you have a difference of opinion? I mean, I know the Reds ain't playing great. As a matter of fact, they're struggling tremendously. But which Reds player would you want to see? This is the time to be biased. If you want to be biased, let me know in the comments. I was taking a look at this list. I was kind of skimming it this morning as I was making my selection, and man, there's a lot of great players. It just reminds you how good baseball is, and I think it's a little bit unfair. I think it's unfair that the All-Star game, although I enjoy it happening in July, the midst of the season. Matter of fact, I still wish that it had a home field advantage implication instead of resulting to who had the better record for the two teams in the World Series this year. I really enjoyed that. I really wish that Major League Baseball went back to that. That's the only reason why they need to have it in the middle of the season. If not, maybe have it at spring training. I don't know. But I feel like it's a little unfair now to have it in July when you have yourself whole second half of the year not allowing players who maybe get called up in May or June. It basically tells you that if you want to be an all-star, you got to have your top tier stuff every day starting opening day. There's no days off, right? So I was looking, skimming through. I didn't necessarily. I've tried to mix some of these up through my 5 selections, but the first person that came to mind at first base was Ben Rice in the American League. He's been in a lot of conversations, a lot of great news. He is, let me just see where he's batting 304, 17 home runs, and he's been a staple to the New York Yankees offense. And when you think of the Yankees offense with Aaron Judge, Carlos Stanton, and so on and so forth, Ben Rice fits nicely in that mix. Over in the National League, I lean towards more so Alec Burleson. There's a lot of Cardinals players that really have caught my attention. That if anybody should be given an opportunity to represent their team, great. Spencer Horwitz, and this is just giving you based off of what I've seen so far this year. Horowitz 291, 7 home runs as well, along with the Battle of South Stewart. Second base, Gleyber Torres for the Tigers. Ernie Clement for the Blue Jays. I got Ozzy Albies for the National League. Larissa Rise, he's batting 322 despite only 2 home runs and 23 RBIs. That's pretty well. Xavier Edwards, is batting 311. I take that into consideration because as a second baseman, getting on base is very important. Making contact with the ball very important. At third base, unfortunately, I don't have Gino Suarez. What about Nick Gonzalez? 314, 2 home runs. What about Junior Caminero with the Rays? Josh Jung, 307 with 7 home runs. I instantly scroll down to Manny Machado, and I regret that decision instantly. Nothing to disrespect him, but he's batting only 172 with 10 home runs. Oswaldo Perez, batting 283, 7 home runs as well right now. What about Jose Ramirez? Got Ellie De La Cruz, CJ Abrams, been very impressive. Um, Connor Griffith's been steady at 274 home runs. Otto Lopez, 336. Aaron Judge, Julio Rodriguez, Mike Trout instantly come to mind now. Ronald Acuna Jr. I really like Jordan Walker from the Cardinals. And how can you not forget you got Yordan Alvarez as a DH for the Houston Astros, and then the Dodgers Shohei Ohtani. I'm interested. I'm going to ask you this: how many Dodger players, how many Yankee players do you think is going to be in the All-Star vote final ballot this season? Who's going to make the start? Who's going to lose? I think you have Dave Roberts in there, along with was it Dan Schneider? Is that who it is? But voting's going on now, so I really want to know who you have. I got Kevin McGonigal, Shea Langlier as the catcher, but I do have JJ Bleday. I do have Ellie De La Cruz. I hope he's able to make it back. But share with me your thoughts. Who's right now All-Star worthy here in Major League Baseball? Let's turn our attention over to the Reds game. Very good, close game all the way up until the ninth inning. I know the results didn't show it. They lost 5-2. They lose the series to the Royals. They have a day off today. They are about to begin a 3-game series against the Cardinals this weekend. They'll head out to San Diego following that series for another 3-game series with the Padres. But 2-4 this past weekend. Think about that for a minute. We had the Braves, which I didn't expect a whole lot from the Reds' performance. But then the Royals. The Royals, 15 games under 500, fourth place in the American League Central. And I'm going to be honest with you, the Reds made the Royals look good in this series. And it looked like this Royals team should not be where they are at today. Chase Burns had 6 innings in his last night's outing. He gave up 4 hits and only allowed 2 runs with 1 walk and 9 strikeouts. In perspective, okay, the Reds had were tied 2-2 heading into the ninth inning, where Tony Santion gave up 3 hits on 3 runs and walked a batter. He didn't even get out of the inning, and we couldn't muster up a victory. The rubber game series, it's been the element of conversation all season long. Win series that you could win. This was a series that should have been an easy win, and yet they made the Royals look like they should be contending for an American League playoff spot. If you are a Reds fan and you wake up this morning and you are upset, you have every right to be upset. If you're questioning, well, now because we didn't take the series, we are 31-30. We're about to go into St. Louis, who also the Cardinals also have today off. We're going to begin a 3-game series, which, by the way, we split one apiece. We don't have our ace pitcher in this series. And if that makes matters worse, we're about to head into San Diego, another dominant team. I don't know about you, but I'm a little bit worried how the next 6 games for this organization is going to turn out. I don't know about you, but this may honestly start the beginning of the downhill spiral, may officially get the Reds over that hump. If anything else could go wrong, having a bad road trip, we've backed ourselves up in a corner. We've told ourselves, based off of our performance earlier this week against the Royals, that, you know what, we have no room to spare. We need to go into St. Louis and win this series, if not sweep, and go into San Diego, and if not sweep. And we know both of those things aren't going to happen. That's how much faith I have in this Reds organization, not specifically in a personal ball player. But if our starting rotation can't, puts us in the game in the 6th, 7th inning, if our offense, and I know it hasn't all been there, but could keep us close early on, and yet our bullpen is still the one that struggles the most, and we saw it clearly last night, then we're hell-bent out of water coming up here in the next 6 games. And just a little brief ideal indication of what's future to come for this organization this month. Following the Padres series next week, we come back home to host the Diamondbacks, to host the Mets, which should still be series victories for us. Then we go out to New York and face the Yankees. This is not going to be an easy schedule. And a series like the Reds, where we should have won, and we didn't, should draw all but concerns for the future of this organization. I am really uncertain. And I don't want to sit here and say, well, I'm done for the season. This is the team that is what we're going to get. We have a lot of issues. The questions go back around to, let's say, what we talked about yesterday. The trade deadline is coming up. What does the Reds need to do? Well, one, we obviously are hoping very quickly that we get a lot of our guys who are injured back. But just because we get them back, what does that do? What does that mean? Does that mean we pick up victories? Because before Pagan got injured, let me remind you, Pagan was giving up save opportunities left and right. We haven't really seen a true Caleb Ferguson. Pierce Johnson's out. Graham Ashcraft possibly monsters to say, hey, he's done for the season. And even these players weren't consistent enough. So what are we talking about here? We get Ellie De La Cruz back. He's batting 280. Great. But what is he doing for this roster? Does that mean we're going to guarantee a victory? Does Ellie De La Cruz yesterday mean that we would have won if he was in the lineup? So I'm struggling to find that hope and to sit here and to say, well, wait until people come back. Well, in the month of June, I expect this National League Central that has been on a tear, that is the only team division in the entire league that's above 500. They're going to start separating. Okay, just like the rest of the league are going to start separating the good teams from the bad teams. And despite having a 500 plus record on a day off here on June 4th, I could easily tell you over the next 2 to 3, maybe even 4 series that we have, the outcome is very crucial because if we don't have a good outcome, we are going to be sitting here at the end of June telling that story that we are at the bottom end and we're on the other end of the separation with 3 months left in baseball. Milwaukee is finding their way. St. Louis has been a team that by all means took a lot of people by surprise, and they look to maintain that and stay that status moving forward. And at the rate they're going, let's just support it. Pittsburgh is still okay. Chicago is has ups and downs, but they're still about 500. We're barely hanging on. We're hanging on by a thread. We're just trotting above water, and it's real these next few series are going to really be our true test to see, hey, are we a legitimate team and we're just having one of those problems like every team does, or are we at the bottom end of the totem pole here and we are going to shift to that team that just ends up, I'm going to say, tanking. Headaches. I want to see this organization do good. It's I can't turn on the game right now and watch the Reds because I have no matter what the first 6 innings, great, exciting. Once you get into the bullpen, it's a little bit more complicated. All right. Earlier, the recent transactions yesterday, we saw Junior Marte, who got DFA'd by the organization. He ended up rejecting the option to go down to Louisville. He's out there in the free agent market. We wish him the best of luck. It was a one and done deal. Really don't have too much information on him. But the biggest conversation yesterday in the transaction for the Reds had to be out of TJ Friedel, who was sent down to AAA, and Noelvi Marte replaced him, getting called back up. Marte down there in AAA, batting, playing really good. He pitched hit last night. He drew a walk. The whole idea, and one thing that I hope that I feel like if last time wasn't the last chance, this is the last chance here. He went down. It looks like he changed a little bit of his formation offensively. He has a little bit more keen eyesight. He had a challenge that he called and got it correct. That even broadcasters said, well, that wasn't something that he would have saw last time up. Um, and then TJ Friedel, 179, only 2 home runs, not as contributive as you can. And when we look into what the Reds need and how can we get these players, I know yesterday I mentioned Sandy Alcantara as a possible option for maybe Antonio Senzatella as a possible option for a trade. The problem is who do we have that's not already good enough to be on this roster that we could give away? And there's no one down there in the minors. Um, you know, there's really no prospects that we could really go through. And so that's going to be the trouble that we are going to find ourselves in heading into this trade deadline is who can we give up that's performing decent at least, that's not overselling who we need. And I'm sorry about this, but Edwin Arroyo, he's up. I want to see him up as long as he plays well. I still put Marte on the call log for a trade. Brady Singer is worth $12 million this year. Can you eat up and open a little bit? Sure. but it's pretty much it. So, they're just in hindsight, there's really not much that this organization could offer, but time will tell. Earlier this week, though, we saw the San Diego Padres release first baseman, outfielder Nick Castellanos. He's bad. He was released by the Philadelphia Phillies this spring. The Padres picked him up this far this season. He's only batting 161, 4 home runs, 20 RBIs, 22 hits. And, you know, maybe someone who was interested um in picking him up, he's still available. I lean the side. I was hopeful for spring that we could see a turnaround for Castellanos. And that's what really, at the first time, had me content on wanting to sign him. Okay. But after seeing what he did in San Diego, I kind of you got to ask yourself, is he worth the matter? Now, Philadelphia is eating up a very about 90% of his contract here. He was originally scheduled about $20 million. The Padres picked him up for 780 million thousand as a league minimum. And if a team could pick him up before the deadline, they paid the remainder of that one, which approximately about 500,000. So he'd be the lowest Reds player if we did pick him up. But what value could we get out of him? And is that really worth the consideration? I mean, if there's no other option, then I guess by all means. But I mean, this is just, I'm trying to find a reason to want to even show interest in him. I mean, if he went from Philadelphia to San Diego and couldn't have a spark year, at least a decent year, batting 220, what would make you believe that he could come to Great American Ballpark? And let me back that up by saying we traded Gino Suarez in 2022 because he underperformed. He found success elsewhere, and we thought because he had tremendous success last year, he'd bring that over to to the Reds, and he hasn't. He has not. Despite, yeah, he's been out for a month, but realistically, what he's not living up to the potential that we want him to live up to. So why make that mistake twice? What makes you think that Nick Castellanos is a different story? I don't know. Maybe Nick Castellanos is just done playing baseball. Because I don't know what ball club would honestly want to pick him up. In the NL Central here, let's take a look at what games took place last night. The Giants beat the Brewers 1-0 final score. The Athletics beat the Cubs 5-4. The Astros beat the Pirates 11-9, and the Cardinals beat the Rangers 5-3. Today, the Giants will take on the Brewers that are 37-22. That first pitch is later on in about an hour and a half at 2:10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The Athletics take on the Cubs in their final games of the series at 8:05 first pitch. The Cubs are 32-30. And then the Pirates are 33-29 taking on the Astros. First pitch at 8:10. You find all that information on MLB.com. Now, I say that, and just looking strictly, we're at 31 wins. We're 6 games back. So Another baseball conversations. Christopher Sanchez, Philadelphia Phillies starting pitcher. Well, he saw his historical streak come to an end. He was on the streak of the consecutive scoreless innings by a starting pitcher. And we saw that come to an ending yesterday as he took on the Padres. And in the seventh inning, okay, in the seventh inning, we saw, who was it? Just had it right here. We saw Jackson Merrill hit an RBI single out to right field, scoring in Ty France. Now, that streak comes to an end after 50 and two-thirds of an inning. The only players that are higher than them, and this is the live ball era, is Dodgers Oriel Hershiser, whatever, where he recorded 59 scoreless innings in 1988, and Dodgers Don Drysdale with 58 innings in 1969 since the 1920s. Take a look at that list, just in more common reference. Following Sanchez was Bob Gibson with 7 innings back on June 1st or June 2nd of 1968 to June 26th, 1968. We got Zach Greinke in 2015 with 45 and two-thirds. Zach Gallen with the Diamondbacks, 44 and a third back in 2022. Brandon Webb in 2007. Clayton Kershaw with 41 back in 2014. So, I mean, there's a list, probably about a dozen people, 40 plus scoreless innings. That's when it really matters. It's still a good historical value to the live ball era. Let's make no mistake about that. So, congratulations to Christopher Sanchez, who gets to be added his name to this, and be a part of history. Let's take a look at the NBA Finals. Last night was Game 1 between the Knicks and the Spurs, and the Knicks are out and beat the Spurs 105 to 101 was the final score. Um, I'm rooting for the Knicks. I think that the Knicks could have it. I don't want to toot my own horn. I don't want to get too cocky for everything. Just wanted to, it's just one game closer every game. They're off today. They'll have game 2 on tomorrow night. As Knicks lead 1-0 in the series. Their tip off is at 8:30, available on ABC. Now we got the Stanley Cup Finals, who the Knights won in Game 1 just 2 days ago. I think it was 6-2 the final score. The puck drops in Game 2 at 8 p.m. tonight on ABC. The Knights have a 1-0 lead against the Hurricanes. This one has been the challenging game, or championships to go off of, to see just who really shows both are great teams to go off of, and uh, I'm kind of rooting for the Knights, but it doesn't really. I guess it doesn't matter who wins, right? It's just to see. Uh, Other in hockey news, talking about the Stanley Cup Finals. Okay, well, we have a chance to see history in this series, as the Vegas Golden Knights, Jack Eichel and Noah Hannafin, and then you got the Hurricanes, Jacob Slavin, has a rare chance at joining history as the only players not only to win a gold medal, but to win in the Winter Olympics, but to win a Stanley Cup. They may join a exclusive club when all three of them led Team USA to a gold medal in this year's Winter Olympics that took place a couple months ago. But now at least one of them will have a chance to make history by winning the Stanley Cup just 4 months later. But let's remember, back in February, all three players were celebrating the ice in Milan as teammates after ending Americans' 46-year Olympic gold medal drought. On Tuesday night, Echel and Hannah Finn from the Vegas Golden Knights will faced off against Slavin with the Carolina Hurricanes for the 2026 Stanley Cup Final. When the dust settles, at least one of them will have an achievement, something ever more historical than noteworthy than winning a cup. Only 8 players in history have won an Olympic gold medal and the Stanley Cup in the same year. One of those players is an American. The most recent player to accomplish this feat is Drew Doughty and Jeff Carter, who won the gold with Canada back in 2014's Olympics before leading Los Angeles Kings to their second Stanley Cup in 3 years. That was the last time. Prior to that was the Blackhawks, Duncan Keith, Brent Seabrook, and Jonathan Toews in 2010, where not only they won the cup, but they won for Canada. Back in 2002, we saw the Detroit Red Wings, Brendan Shanahan and Steve Zerman. And for the U.S., Ken Morrow with the New York Islanders back in 1980. The only reason why this list is short is because NH players have only competed in 6 Olympics. The first year NHL players participated was 1998, and there were 12 years gap from 2012 14 to 2026 due to issues between NHL and the International Olympic Committee. So, some very historical options on the table that we'll learn here over the next couple weeks. All right. I do want to talk a little bit about WWE. This past weekend, we saw El Grande Americano take on the original El Grande Americano in AAA. It was Los Noches, whatever. Uh, it was available on YouTube. It was actually such a big match. It was mask versus mask, and it was such a big match that WWE was able to air the match alone on Netflix following Raw back on Monday. And so I am so this was a big anticipation. So chat people believed prior to this have speculations of who are the men behind the mask. People believed instantly, and there was many sources to indicate it and to confirm it, that Chad Gable was the original Grande Americano that made his debut last year. Okay, actually, I would like to maybe pull up some more information on this. Um, so it started back in 2025 as a comic gimmick by Chad Gable. Okay. Matter of fact, I think it was leading into WrestleMania where he was supposed to face Rey Mysterio, ends up facing Penta. Gable then suffers a shoulder injury, and Ludwig Kaiser, who's kind of was following under Gunther earlier in the year, kind of separating off, takes over as the Masked Man. Throughout the year, Ludwig or the El Grande moves over to Lucha Libre's wrestling in AAA and ends up becoming a fan favorite. This was the Ludwig Kaiser format. And along the way, we see we see the Cree brothers in mask. We see Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne in mask, on team sides. And when Chad Gable was recovered, he comes back as the original El Grande Americano. And now this feud becomes something serious. Hey, who was one? Who was the original? And two, who was better? And earlier this weekend at Noche de los Grandes, we saw a mask versus a mask, which is a very big climax to all of this. We also saw them back and forth between the WWE and AAA earlier this year. We saw, um, you know, Instead of the comedy act, we saw Kaiser play the character with deep respect for the culture, and that's how he became to be highly successful in crossover appearances in Mexico promotions, AAA. Over the winter time, we saw a healthy Gable return as original Grande Americano at the Royal Rumble to confront Kaiser, sparking high anticipation of promotional matches. The ultimate climax here in May, the storyline was a mask versus mask. They could only be one. Gable was unmasked to a roaring crowd, and but won the fans respect by handing his mask to Kaiser and praising the lucha spirit. Now, Kaiser is still the top babyface in Lucha Libre's world today, and this now speculates the further progress for Chad Gable. It's been a whirlwind, unless you've been close attention to it. I think there's really not a whole lot that needs to be said in between there, other than uh, the gimmick itself now has an identity of its own and is in its rightful place on in AAA. And I respectfully like how everything was handled. Not only that, you have to love the fan base for when Chad Gable was revealed, because although he was a villain, he was a heel in this storyline, particularly whenever we saw him on Raw, WWE fans learned to love him. And I love Chad Gable. I mean, I enjoy watching Chad Gable. I think he is an incredible athlete. He is a very he's small to size, but he has that built power that he could absolutely do anything. And um that it was just unfortunate that he got hurt. He was out sideline, but I felt like this created opportunities for a lot of other people, components. I mean, the Creed brothers weren't doing anything. Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate weren't doing anything, and Ledger Kaiser. Just imagine, possibility releasing them here over the last year if we didn't see anything. Um, I watched the moment. I thought it was a special moment, heartfelt speech. I think respect lies, when you're wrestling in Mexico, that was a very big cultural experience. And I think both of them has done it very, very well. And so Chad Gable, think he's an incredible athlete. I think he is someone that I hope has a future in the WWE. I mean, I would hate for that to go to waste. I would love to see him as Chad Gable in matches with a whole bunch of athletes right now on Raw. But um, right now, that saga is officially closed, officially over. So that's what we were able to see. But that is my WWE sports update news. Let's jump over to last night's blockbuster news coming from the NFL, and that was quarterback Russell Wilson officially decides that he is going to retire from the NFL after a 10-time Pro Bowl quarterback. Then this morning, he will be joining CBS Sports, the NFL Today, for the 2026 season, filling in for opening left by Matt Ryan. CBS Sports Super Bowl is it 63? I don't know what it is anymore. Pre-game show features Jane Brown Football Hall of Fame Bill Collar, and retired NFL wide receiver Nate Burleson, replacing Matt Ryan after it later departed to rejoin the Atlanta Falcons as the president of football. The NFL today is celebrating its 50th anniversary after winning sports Emmys last season. Wilson has announced his career is moved from in a video on social media Wednesday evening, confirming his move to CBS Sports pregame show, saying, "Thank you, football." He says, and I quote, "As I enter this next chapter with CBS Sports and the NFL today, I am so blessed to continue doing what I love the most, being around the greatest game in the world," end quote. I don't know if you guys watched it. It was kind of posted late last night. Um, and Wilson announced in a video package that he was retiring from football. Wilson, the 2020 Walter Payton Man of the Year award winner, spent his first 10 season with the Seattle Seahawks, where he from 2012 to 2021, after being selected the third round pick of the 2012 NFL draft. He earned a Pro Bowl nods 9 of his 10 seasons with the Seahawks, a run that included consecutive Super Bowl appearances in 2013, 2014, including a dominant 43-8 victory over the Denver Broncos. Seattle won at least one playoff game in each of Wilson's first 5 seasons from 12 to 16, which tied for the most consecutive seasons with a playoff win to begin a starting quarterback's career in NFL history. He tied Joe Flacco from 8 to 12 with this distinction. Wilson's career shifted following a trade to the Denver Broncos in 2022. Broncos lost 11 of his 15 starts in Nathaniel Hackett's lone season as the Broncos head coach. While Wilson led the NFL in sack taken at 55, he struggled to mesh with coach Sean Payton in 2023. Denver released him the following season, and that's when he landed with the Pittsburgh Steelers. After overtaking Justin Fields as a team starting quarterback, the Steelers won 6 of his 11 starts and reached the 2024 postseason. That year, Wilson led the NFL with 4 fourth-quarter comebacks, which led to earn a 10th and final Pro Bowl selection of his career. 2025 began with the New York Giants starting quarterback, but after losses in all 3 of his starts, the Giants replaced him with Jackson Dart. So I don't know. I don't care what you guys say about him. I think, to me, in my image, how I saw uh, Russell Wilson, he was a well-decorated quarterback. For what I've seen on the field, okay, to me, he came in the time. Um, so he came in to the NFL with me in a year, in a selective of years, where he was mobile. He was agile. The AFC back in 2010 to 2016, at least, okay, was a league where they didn't necessarily operate on the ground game. They resorted to the pass. This is before everything starts changing. From my understanding, the NFC was the pass game. You won by the air, by the most yardage in the throws that you can make, most completions. In the AFC, a lot of teams ran the ball. They used that to their skill level. So when you brought in a quarterback, not only that can throw the ball, I wouldn't say he can throw 100 yards, no, but he can make these passes, and he's very accurate with these passes in his early days, and he can move out of pocket and run alongside a solid running back. I think Marshawn Lynch at the time. There is it's a 4D image of what a winning team is, and that's was something that was not clearly heard of when it came to the NFC at that time. At least that was being more generated, so he was ahead of his time, so to say, right? Um, Not saying quarterbacks couldn't move, it's just it wasn't a big deal. Russell Wilson played a huge part into that. And a lot of his success, I would argue, had to do with him being able to move outside of pocket, scramble for yards, almost like a older version of a Lamar Jackson. Um, Colin Kaepernick was another guy who got brought up, and the reason why he took over was because he bolted it down the field. He had the arm length. He had less consistency. He was also able to move, and that's what the 49ers wanted to image. So for me, that's what highlighted Russell Wilson. As he gets older, as you get hit, what ends up happening is that his body starts adjusting to that, and things start slowing down. So, in my opinion, uh, you know, Russell Wilson was a beginning of a change in the quarterback's image of professional football. He's not the first person, but he's one of the guys that I believe has implemented. Because since then, a lot of NFL coaches are implementing college formats. They want quarterbacks that can move for several years. Look, he's had a well decorated career. I'm not going to speak on a Hall of Fame career, but he's had a well decorated career with the Super Bowl victory, which definitely well deserved. Joining CBS member now, I think it's great. I think he's on the path. Of staying. He wants to stay in front of the camera, give his expertise back. So I like to see him return to what he enjoys, being around the game. It's kind of hard, right? You dedicate your life to this sport, right? It's kind of hard once you get out of it what to do next. All right, I wanted to talk about a conversation that we did not get to yesterday. Talk about some Bengals football here to end our program on a Thursday. Jamar Chase and T. Higgins has issued a Super Bowl challenge for the Bengals after the offseason moves. It's no doubt one of the biggest things the Bengals needed to address was defense. They felt like they've done a tremendous job doing it. I think a lot of fans agree that they've done their fair share. I think right now, for me, it's all right, you've done the work, let's see it in progress. And I think players want to see it in progress as well. So this has now boosted morale in several players, including the Bengals offense, including guys like T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. They spoke with reporters on Tuesday. Chase issued a challenge for his teammates regarding what they said, what they should hope to achieve during the upcoming campaign. Jamar said, and I quote, "At the end of the day, we got to the Super Bowl in 21 and never went back." Chase said, per Ben Baby on ESPN. He goes on to say, so expectations have always been high since 2021, but now that we have improved our defense a little more, the expectations have gone up for the defense to show us what they could do. Quarterback Joe Burrow has made his similar comment throughout the spring, perhaps in an attempt to light a fire under Cincinnati players. Since the Bengals finished the 2025 season with a 6-11 record, they've added defensive tackle Dexter Lawrence, Jonathan Allen, Brian Cook, Kyle Duggar. Don't forget pass rusher Boya Mafe, edge rusher Cassius Howell. Don't forget Teresio Davis to the roster. Jamar Chase begins recruiting players to sign with the Bengals earlier this year. Relevant with this time spent at the Pro Bowl games and this past winter recruiting prospects for free agent. He explains that he didn't care. Let's go. If you want to sign, let's sign here. Let's do it. The moves made are showing us they want to be with us too. They want to push us to help us be at the next level we know we could be at. Head coach Zach Taylor, according to this article, is likely on the hot seat after the Bengals missed the playoffs last for the third straight season. Additionally, something Burrow could look to be traded if he doesn't at least play in the next postseason. T. Higgins made it known and he doesn't just want to participate in 2027. It's a playoff game. We got to win a championship. That's the mingle. So there you have it. Our two top offensive players, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, is saying, look, it's put up or shut up time. Now, look, as a fan, I think last year we questioned a lot, and I think it's going to continue into this year. We questioned the on-field decisions made by Zach Taylor and his coaching staff, primarily Zach Taylor, because at the end of the day, he has that final decision. That doesn't change. There was parts of last season where it was a clear indication that Joe Burrow was calling shots, was making adjustments, and was using his skill on the field to help impact the Bengals' success rate. That had no strategy in doing so with Zach Taylor. So I will continue to judge Zach Taylor for his on-field decisions. If he decides to go for it on fourth down and fails, that's Zach Taylor. If he decides to kick it on third down and 47 yards and he misses, that's Zach Taylor. If he decides to run it when he should pass it and pass it when he should run it, that is Zach Taylor. I'm sorry. But a very key important thing that we come away from this is that Jamar Chase and T. Higgins is absolutely correct. We brought people over defensively. That's where we needed help on. If this team looks for the future, and that future includes Chase, Higgins, Burrow, they're not playing to get to 2027. They're playing to win now. And based off of the Bengals move, they didn't draft, they didn't sign free agents for the next 3, 4, 5 years. They drafted players to play and win now. So who is going to light that fire? Who is going to say, we have the talent, we have this image. Everyone, all 32 NFL clubs has the same goals, and that's to win the Super Bowl. But now we have to show it. And I'm going to hold you accountable as the players in your performance on the field, just as much as I'm going to hold Zach Taylor to the coaching decisions off the field. We've already sat here earlier this year and held Duke Tobin and Mike Brown to the standards of, hey, things need to happen, and they made it happen. It may not have been pretty, it may not have been everything that we wanted, but things have happened, and it's happened for the better. So yes, the Bengals, and I will testify to T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, they are on notice. We got the players, we have the talent. Right now, everyone is healthy. Crossing fingers, that happens throughout the summertime, and we begin a season with everyone on the roster that we want. But at the end of the day, we have what it takes. We're just as good as the Ravens, and we are here to win a Super Bowl. There's no excuses. We are uncertain about what's going to happen with Patrick Mahomes and how his return is going to be. We don't know if Bo Nix and the Broncos can make another trip back to the postseason. There's only two things that right now locked into place that is certain. One, the Bills are still the Bills, and they are in a playoff until told otherwise. And on top of that, the Ravens are going to be our biggest threat. Tackling on Lamar Jackson, taking on Trey Hendrickson, those are the two things that that right now is most certain about this team, about this league. Other than that, until I see Drake May have another repeat year, Bo Nix have another light out year, until I see Patrick Mahomes comes back, no, I'm not doubting them, but we're right there in the mix. Tell me otherwise. Show me otherwise. But that is the Bengals on notice for a Super Bowl run. That is all the time I have for you guys today. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. Please hit that like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. Have those notifications on. Follow us on our Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram page. And be sure you can take us on the road with you wherever you go by downloading us on any of your audio podcast stations at the TNC Sports. We'll be back tomorrow from 12 to 1 to wrap you up on a week worth of sports, to get you guys for the weekend and more to come. Thank you guys for tuning into the TNC Sports Talk. My name is Justin. Until tomorrow, have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care.